Hi everybody, it's been a little while since we last saw your wonderful and fantastic faces and your wonderful names in the chat. My name is Graham, or Graham Crackers. If this is your first time here, welcome. Here on this channel, we believe in a few things, which are namely, we like to make memories and play MMORPGs, TTRPGs, and video games with friends. And that's about it. So, rules are, just be nice, don't backseat game, and have a fun time. Grab some gummy bear snacks, maybe. Maybe a juice box. I don't know. But I'd be down for that. But, your son was too loud. I'm so sorry, Troke. But tonight I am once more returning to play Harrison Nervos Blackmont, your favorite Tiefling Oath of Conquest Paladin. That I have not played for several weeks, so we'll see how this goes. But I am joined by such a fantastic cast who need no introduction, but there should be some introduction, a little bit, maybe. Like who they
Steve, be our
are,
guest.
who they are. Oh, sorry. Who they are, who they're playing, and yeah. Take it away, Derek.
It's not my turn, Graham. Go, Pharaoh. Let's do this the way
Yeah,
we're
that's what I
supposed to.
thought. I mean, I guess because I wasn't here last week, you just wanted to skip over me.
No!
I'm just a rule. You're right. I'm just a rule breaker.
One night without you, and all order collapsed.
It's true. There was anarchy.
We
in
weren't
the
renegade.
streets.
There's 2 rogues in this party.
That is factually accurate.
We became Renegade Shepherd from Mass Effect. Making pointless choices.
Haha. Oh, sorry, I was laughing at your really good joke. I'm Pharaoh. I will be playing Utaka, the Water Genasi Cleric Rogue, with almost as much attitude as I'm feeling right now. I'm excited to be back and looking forward to electrocuting some motherfuckers. And off to you, Kari.
Sorry, I was just trying to generate some static electricity for that. Hey, everybody, it's me, Kari. I am playing Israel, the Fae Pact Warlock, who also has electricity, but she hasn't had the opportunity to use its full effect yet. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, that's me. Hi, everybody. I'm Derek Sword. I am playing Griaz Bramblepelt, the swampy druid bugbear, also rogue, who's ready to roll some butts and kick some dice. Yeah. Hand it over to Jeremy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy, and I have the privilege of playing the Protector Asimar, Oath of Devotion Paladin, Iran Blackmont, and I'm just happy to be here. Last but not least, pass it off to our wonderful GM.
That's me. Hi, I'm Matt, your DM GM. Very off-kiltered by the mood in this chat tonight. I will be playing everyone else. So, are we ready to dive back into the Goldshine Investigations after a few weeks away?
Let me at 'em. I'm ready.
Put 'em up.
I got 2 D20s at least.
All right. When we last left off, the party celebrated and had a night of revelry with some swampy gnomes in the middle of the forest near their campsite. Utaka hung out with some cool teens. They had some weird food and saw just what kind of sorry state the local gnomes were actually in, given their the unfortunate state of affairs in the region right now. And as the party returned to their campsite, they woke the next morning to find that the distant city of Jor that they were planning to pass through on their way to a meeting with the mysterious Kenny Caldwell of the Children of Red Sight while on the way to save Griez's homeland of the Black Swamp, found that the city was under attack, seemingly from a group of underlings, underdark halflings who went mad in the darkness below our feet. Wielding a mysterious bell that could inspire negative emotions in enemy armies, seeming to be hoping to terrify the city of Jor into submission and surrender. But not if the party has anything to say about it. Although whose side they're actually going to be on in this battle is yet to be determined. Utaka went to scout ahead and possibly have some sort of engagement with the underling Warlock, who is said to lead raids of this nature. Israel on board Barry pulled Griaz behind ice sled style, while Geharis and Ivron lead the party's mercenary army in a proper march. Although Geharis and Ivron, the dutiful nature of the march becomes a little less structured whenever you hear the distant thunderclap of Utaka getting into some sort of engagement with the enemy army. And the two of you pick up the pace a little bit, although you will not immediately join the battle for a few turns. Israel and Griaz. As the two of you hear this distant thunderclap and Utaka flies back on board Onyx, seeming startled and not expecting aerial defenses on a rat-piloted ship, as they are chased by a group of harpies that now surround you in the trees, wings spread wide and bearing teeth and claws, all wearing the uniform of the Bluefield Alliance. With that, I think it's fair to say I would like everyone, Geharis and Ivron, you don't have to right away, as again, it'll be a few turns before you get here, but I would like everyone who's present to please roll for initiative.
$17.
All right. Okay. All right, let me get my battle document pulled up here. Not the right one, I clicked there. There we go. All right, Israel with a 17. Griaz?
18.
Nice. Utaka?
14.
Okay. All right. Geharis and Ivron, do the two of you want to roll now or roll whenever you get here?
I can roll now. If you want to throw our tokens up on Roll20, we can click them and apply.
Oh yeah. Let me shift you guys to the battle map. I already had one set up.
Hey.
So I think y'all start hearing like this slowly building scream that's just getting closer and closer and closer.
I love that. I love that a lot. It's like, oh no.
Initiative. That is a.
I feel like the oh no hit at the thunderclap, and then the progressively getting closer scream. It's like, oh no.
All right, and Ivron, roll for initiative. Again, it'll be a couple turns before you guys get here, but just in case.
22.
All right. Okay. So, Paladins, as you hear the distant conflict, you pick up the pace a little bit, although keeping the orderly march that you two had designed. Melee fighters and tanks up front, delicate spellcasters and sharpshooters in the back. As you guys start picking up the pace a little bit through the forest to try and get to your allies, who, from the sounds of it, have met the enemy. Although which enemy, it remains to be seen. As the three of you, weapons and spells at the ready, find yourself surrounded on all sides by harpies.
Everyone has inspiration.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Keeping us all alive.
All right. As this wave of inspiration hits you as you find your first conflict of this seemingly major battle, the first one you've actually been in since the Siege of Veilbright, which even that you guys managed to prevent from becoming an active bloody conflict. The Harpies have first go. Okay. Utaka, Israel, Griaz, I would like the three of you to please make a wisdom saving throw.
That's a natural 18.
17.
Natural
Israel,
18 for a 25.
We got 25 for Utaka. I got an 18. Or 17, excuse me. 17.
okay. Griaz,
19.
okay. One of the harpies, the one perched on the tree directly in front of you alongside one of their comrades, begins to sing a melody. But all of you already having your ear protection at the ready to prevent the underling bell from having its effect on you, you manage to resist the quite literal siren song. And as the harpy kind of growls in frustration, they give a piercing whistle as they take to the air, and the other harpies begin to dive down to attack a bit more directly. With that, as the harpies dive down, this one's gonna go for... That one already attacked, so this one's gonna go for you. That one's gonna go for you. You. And Garrus, for your reference, that's not actually where you are. I just put you over there to basically indicate you're off the field at the moment. All right. As the harpies start flocking to encompass Griaz, you watch as the harpies basically start to encompass Israel and Utaka up towards the front. As you notice, they seem to be ignoring you for the time being. While one does start flying towards you, most of them seem to not be actively focusing on you as a combatant. Reasons unknown.
Reasons
However,
suspected.
Yeah. Reasons suspected, but so first up, I think it's going to be an even split: 2 attacking Utaka, 2 attacking Israel. The ones attacking Utaka. Here, I have ACs written down here. Very nice AC, Utaka. That's not going to hit there. Also a miss. Sorry, a lot of rolls I'm having to make here. A lot of combatants. That is 1 hit on Israel. Israel, as one of their claws manages to find purchase on you, you take 7 slashing damage. As the harpies start to encompass all of you in a riptide of skin and feathers. Utaka, you manage to dodge, parry, and roll on Onyx as they basically dogfight with you in the air, while Israel on the ground, they bear down on you and start slashing and pecking and clawing, and you feel claws rake down your shoulder down to the small of your back as warm blood starts to pool against the cold, snowing air. And that's their claw attacks. Let's see if their clubs do any better. And while Utaka, you continue to dodge, Israel, the one who had failed to find purchase on you, kind of pulls against your cloak with their talons, and you feel a harsh impact against your shoulder as one brings a club down to bear against your shoulder, and you take another 3 bludgeoning damage.
There are groans of pain.
And Griaz, the one flying towards you kind of surveys you for a second before diving and not attacking you. They slice at the ropes that are keeping you dragged behind Barry, and slice them into ribbons. And as the ropes fall into the snowy forest floor, they kind of stare at you and kind of tilt their head, like kind of trying to gauge your reaction before just giving you a nod and turning away from you and waving their club over their head as they make a run for Israel.
Yeah. You know what? This is BS.
Israel, you take an additional 4 bludgeoning damage
Incredible.
as they club against the side of your head. As Griaz, they seem to think that you are held prisoner by these two and not an ally. However, that is the end of the Harpy's turn. Griaz with Israel on deck.
Oh, can't hear you.
Yeah, you're.
Oh,
There you
there
go.
it goes. Yeah, it's an old Yeti. Okay, so is that a harpy on top of Griaz? It is. Okay, let's see if I can get into the center of all this mess. So I'm going to move here.
Okay.
And I'm going to cast Thunder Wave. Yeah, if you want to take Junior, put him in the corner or whatever like that, because
sure.
Yeah, he's not being deployed right now.
Yeah, I'll put him over here. All right. Go for it.
So yeah, going to cast Thunder Wave emanating from the point in front of kind of Israel and Utaka there. So trying to kind of push these 3 back. This, I guess, this would be the cube, 15-foot cube.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly. Okay. He's basically just going to clap his foot or his hands in front of himself and just kind of say enough, and try to shove all them back.
Okay. Okay. What kind of saving throw is this? And is this all creatures or just enemies?
It would be everybody within that range. So he's intentionally trying to target it where it's not going to affect Israel or Utaka, but it is a DC 14 Constitution saving throw.
Okay. Yeah, because here I can if you can kind of, because there's not really, at least that I can see, an obvious place if it's a cube that you could put it without hitting either of them. While you could hit one harpy, but
yeah, that's the thing is he might just get this one in the center here, and that's fine. This isn't meant to do damage. It's more to get attention.
Yeah.
It was either that or firing the shotgun, and I figured Thunderwave was a bit more significant.
Okay. All right. In that case, 1 con save from the harpy, which they fail.
Okay. So it is going to take 8 points of damage, and that one at least is pushed back 10 feet.
Okay. Doot. So Griaz, as you clap your hands together and give this call, the harpy kind of getting launched back in a kerfuffle of feathers, and as they kind of flap their wings to maintain being airborne, they stare at you, seeming almost kind of torn between confusion and something resembling betrayal. And she kind of almost hisses at you. What are you doing?
What are you doing? What's your problem?
I'll say Israel with Utaka on deck. Since it's not the Harpy's turn yet, it basically it's not going to be immediately obvious if they're backing off, but I will basically let you two decide what you do, and depending on how this turn shakes out, the Harpies will determine what they're going to do next. So Israel, if that's the end of your turn, yes.
The one last thing, since he's right next to one, he is going to at least just disengage as a bonus action.
Okay.
And that is also to kind of show, hey, I'm not openly threatening. He's literally like stepping back and showing that he is not being. So that is the flavor and the mechanic of it.
Okay, absolutely. Which, yeah, they do seem to take notice of. Again, still confused, but their hostility does noticeably dwindle slightly. Israel, with Utaka on deck, what are you going to do?
Israel looks a bit hostile after getting her head nearly caved in and is sort of like gripping her shoulder. Some fucking alliance this is. And she's not gonna react hostilely. She's just gonna just hunch and be like, could you not?
Yeah, can you not?
Could you not?
Okay.
Not
Fair.
here for this.
Fair. Utaka?
All right. So they're wielding clubs, right?
Yeah, clubs and just their talons.
Okay. I think he's gonna try and like, I don't know how to flavor this. Maybe just the one who had just swung at his head. Like there is like a club like right there near his head.
Yeah.
He's just gonna try and disarm that Harpy.
I'll allow that.
Okay.
I'll call this just an attack roll, like method of your choice, but rather than doing damage, you'll be attempting to disarm them.
Okay. So that was a 14 plus 4, 6, 7, 4, 6. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll do.
Something like that.
Method, just for flavor.
I guess he kind of hefts the shield and like kind of briefly tosses it for a moment and gets a better grasp on it and just whacks across.
Yeah, and you knock the club out of the startled Harpy's hand as it tumbles into the snow. And as you can hear the distant march of you guys' army, quote unquote, getting closer, the Harpies seem on edge and unsure, but looking to Griaz and the two of you, disarming but otherwise not being hostile. Griaz, make me a persuasion check. I'll give you advantage since Israel and Utaka didn't take any overtly hostile actions.
It's 12 plus nothing, 12.
The Harpies kind of stare at you for a moment, and the one who appears to be something of the leader, perched up in the tree, who had attempted to sing to all of you, kind of like surveys the situation and looks to where you guys can hear Geharis and Ivron's approach. While it's a bit muffled from your earplugs, she kind of hisses down to her comrades. Ceasefire! Ceasefire! And the Harpies, again, seem a little aggravated, but back off. The one who you had disarmed, Utaka, kind of lands and kind of like retrieves their club and kind of clutches it as they back away. And the Harpies land on the ground surrounding all of you. Weapons still within reach, but otherwise seem like they're kind of playing it safe for the moment. Willing to listen, but not willing to stake their life on this not being a trap, especially as, again, there appears to be an army encroaching.
Hey, we want to talk to your people.
We can always try talking to the commanding officers again. They at least didn't shoot first.
Yeah, okay. I saw a brook, remember? And I'll turn and point at Griaz. Right? General Morgan Brooke was her name?
Right. You saw her where?
Look, over by the ships.
Oh, shoot. I didn't know how far you got. All right.
She's commanding the attack.
Did she
That's
command
good to
y'all to
know.
come and harass us?
The leader points to Utaka, seeming almost like defensive and accusatory.
I'm
And
gonna
just
like hold my hands up like, what bitch?
they didn't get close enough for us to identify. We thought it was the children of Red Sight.
I want to
Well-
walk over to the leader and just kind of put a big bugbear arm around her.
Yeah, all harpies are female.
And just kind of like turn her away and be like, hey, I'm really sorry if he tried hitting y'all with a lightning bolt. I totally understand. That would piss me off too. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm just saying that is a possibility that he might have done that. I understand it is a stressful situation. Y'all's in a war. We ain't here to cause no trouble, no hubbub. We was just moseying along, came across an entire battlefield. You gotta imagine what that's like in our situation. So if you can get us the scuttlebutt, what's going on down there, would be much appreciated, so we can either help or get the hell out of your way.
She kind of like nods slowly, and there's a moment of consideration, but I'll say at this point, Gaharis and Ivron's steps are getting closer, and the harpies kind of start to look a little agitated and uncomfortable. So the commander kind of gives you a nod, Griaz, and to the trees! And they all flap and perch up in the trees, basically where they can get away and have a bit of a height advantage in case things go south. Although the leader stays on the ground with wings crossed as Gaharis and Ivron, the two of you with army at your back, arrive on the battlefield. Although it seems to be less of an active battlefield at this point. While you had heard the early sounds of scuffling, you see one harpy amongst the group wearing a Bluefield Alliance uniform and 5 additional harpies perched in the trees surrounding the group. They seem on edge and uncertain, but not actively antagonistic at this point. And Gaharis, you actually see the leader, their eyebrows kind of shoot up, seeming in recognition whenever you arrive.
Hello? I see that we have missed the party. So sad, so sad. Do I notice their recognition?
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
exact. They're not being super subtle about it.
Okay. It is so nice to see so many faces in one place. So I only have a few questions. What is going on in the city? I see that there is combat. Are there 3 armies? 4 armies?
The harpy kind of considers for a moment and get back to the flagship. Tell the captain that Gaharis and his crew are here. If I don't come back within an hour, assume they've killed me. And the harpies all kind of give a nod, seeming eager to get the heck out of Dodge and start flapping their wings and taking off into the freezing skies back towards the coast.
When
Israel
did
looks
we
like
become
she's
your
tempted.
crew?
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't believe that it is that you are my crew. I think that it is probably that I am the most recognizable for my dealings with the generals outside of the Siege of Elbert, so perhaps that is why I cannot answer that.
I think it's because he's blue.
That also makes sense.
You can see the harpy
I-
kind of give a bit of a smirk at that.
I look down at my skin.
You're also blue.
Oh yeah, Israel's being an absolute shitlord, like looking at the harpy like you're a racist motherfucker who also doesn't know like battlefield like scout engagement, just navigation at all, just blindly flying in like an absolute maniac.
They kind of roll their eyes a little bit, but at
So
the
is
very
it
least,
because he's light blue and I'm like dark blue? Is that like what's going on here?
I don't know,
The
but you
cat-
got lipped in with me, and they don't seem to have a problem with either of them.
The cat-
As she nurses her shoulder, which is bleeding somewhat.
the captain said look for a blue Cambion and that they're on our side. We don't know what the rest of you look like.
That is fair. I mean, I did write several letters. I'm glad that I made it.
Utaka, if it makes you feel any better, it's not the color of your skin, it's the fact that you don't have horns or fur. They're judging you not by the color of your skin, but by the content of your other attributes.
Content of your
Yeah, but
keratin.
they got
you
worshippers of Ninklam, and I like turn and like show my fucking cloak, which has like a symbol of Ninklam. I'm like,
They kind of flap their wings like equally as indignant and just like they're hiring mercenaries to kill us, and there's cultists about. We can't stop to identify every single person.
Okay, so
you were chasing me. My cloak was behind me.
Okay,
You were sending a giant fly to go after our flagship.
let us let flygons be bygones. If we can. What is this about the Cult of Red Sight being here, and are the happenings of Ninkelem allied with the Bluefield Alliance, or are they a separate entity?
They're allowing us to use their ships in exchange for a cut of whatever we take.
All right. Was the city offered a chance to surrender?
That's what we're trying to do. We don't even want the city. We've heard rumors that what was his name? Arpeggio, the singer. We heard rumors that some of his crew were seen in Jor. Captain Brooke sent us to deal with it. That's why we brought the bell. We just want the enemy army to surrender so we can scout the city for cultists.
That makes a lot of sense. So this is going back way back to last season. His allies were the Dark Elves from the circus, right?
Yes, he recruited Dark Elves who worshipped the Mirror World to basically be his. You were told that basically all the major leaders in the Children of Red Sight have a dedicated group of followers. In Arpeggio's case, that was, yes, Dark Elf dancers.
Okay. So the Dark Elves are in the city, or is these not Dark Elves? Are they different lists?
We just heard rumors that there was Dark Elves in chains in the city, and they matched the description of the dancers. We knew that some escaped from Veilbright, so we thought it would... Captain Brooke said that we had orders to check it out. And if we couldn't find any, or if we found them, but it was in too deep for us to get rid of, then we either get the city to surrender to our control or destroy it.
Okay, first question, I suppose. Which is actually out of game. I don't know why I did it in a character voice. Dark Elves, do they fall under the Bluefield Alliance, or do they fall more under the Emelian Empire and the more common races as they are elves?
They're neutral, because while their elvish descent does give them some credence, the fact that they live in the Underdark and do not typically work together with the common folk also makes them potentially a hostile threat. So they're basically a neutral party in this arrangement. As far as you know, they haven't taken an overt side.
I see that is very insightful. How goes the battle? Are you winning? Are you losing? Is it a stalemate?
Hard to say. We're about to reach the shore in about an hour. We're hoping that by that point the bell will have tolled enough times to just get the enemy army to surrender. But if worse comes to worse, we have our backup plan.
And that is?
Captain Brooke has orders. If the city doesn't surrender, but we've confirmed that the Children of Red Sight are present, we're going to destroy it. Bag of holding inside another bag of holding.
There's just muttering from where Israel sits on Barry.
I looked at Ivron. Garrus like, that's not a
There's
good
a distinct
plan.
disgusted tone to her muttering of like, absolutely.
In Garrus's mind, he's like, I'd rather if you sacrificed hundreds of troops and just conquered this like a normal person instead of a scorched earth policy.
Exactly, like absolute
Boy, howdy.
maniacs.
Sure could use a mortal compass right now. Everyone turns to Ebron.
Yeah, Ivron's like,
Ivron's just been listening intently to see what Geharis would choose to do, but if Geharis would look to him, he would just say, perhaps we could avoid a battle altogether. If you're looking for Children of Red Sight, there's no better hunters than us. Could we talk to your general?
Of course, they said for you to be brought to them if you showed up. We just didn't recognize you.
How long would it take for us to get there?
I could probably fly you there in just a couple minutes if I had some help.
I
If
have-
Ron comes up to the heroes.
I can make 2 of us fly. If that
I
makes
can bring
things
someone
simple.
too.
I can carry one person.
I cannot fly. So this is not a capability I have. I also weigh a lot. I am in full plate.
Israel would
Can-
offer her hand out to Gaharis.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
take it, and as I take it, I'm gonna cast Lay on Hands. How much HP do you need back?
It's actually a pretty
Like-
decent
like-
chunk. How much is it? What's 40? What's 29 minus 43? I can't do math. It is somewhere in the realm of 14 health.
Okay, yeah, you get 14 health back. That's
Sweet.
easy. I learned today that I have 40 HP worth of Lay on Hands now at this level, and I feel so powerful.
Incredible. So she looks a bit more relaxed, and you feel her hand and yours begin to glow with that like tealish eldritch energy for a moment, and there's a swirl of wind that sort of runs around the both of you that carries oddly fresh leaves that seem to just completely disappear when the spell is cast, and Israel would sort of just start to drift upward because she has cast fly on the pair of them.
Okay. The harpy kind of looks around to basically see who they're going to be carrying.
I cannot fly. I have not taken that many levels in Druid. I can become small enough to carry because otherwise I am a heavy boy.
That'll do. You got your bug. And they turn to Ivron. Do you need a lift?
If Utaka does not mind that I join him on his, I'm assuming, fly.
Yeah. That's fine.
Gaharis and Ivron, the two of you hear a small voice pipe up behind all of you. What about us? And the young druid girl, along with your mercenaries, are kind of looking at you expectantly. And what are others?
It seems that the true enemy may be in the city, so for now, I would like all of you to set up a small camp, get any medical supplies, or any of you that know healing or know of any herbs that could be used for poultices, get that. I look to the 3 poachers, Titanus, Billy, and
John.
John. I want you 3 to go, and I'll turn to the harpy. The outskirts of the town, is that in the Bell's range, or would we be able to escort non-combatants out of the city?
It's hard to say, but outskirts of the city should be outside of the range for it to seriously affect you.
I trust you 3. I need you to get every innocent individual out of that city.
Aye, Captain.
Keep an eye out for anyone trying to slink out. That, as you know, I pointed the amulet out to them several times at this point.
They know what to look for.
And perhaps relay the message and the goals of this siege, and perhaps cooler heads will prevail.
I'll do what I can, and you can see the poachers.
All I ask.
The poachers kind of look to the harpy, who kind of looks back to them, and even the harpy.
You want to give them the lantern?
That sounds good to me, and I will give them a lantern. I forget what it says. Something about the bell is broken or something?
Yeah, I believe, the bell is broken, and the battle is lost. Okay.
Which still, you play that for them, they're still going to probably run away from the city.
Yeah.
Assuming
All right.
that the city is taken. So I will hand that to Titanus. I expect to get that back at some point, but for now, only use it when necessary, and I will whisper what it says, or what is stored in it. If anyone gives you trouble, it's going to affect everybody. Plug your
Roger.
ears.
Got it. He kind of cautiously takes the lantern and kind of looks curiously at the small bit of light emanating from it and gives you a nod. And the rest of the mercenaries, the sharpshooter who had used Utaka as target practice, kind of starts barking orders to get everyone closer to Jor to set up camp, while the poachers slink off ahead to start scouting the city, spreading the word, and trying to escort civilians out. And I assume as you guys start putting your flights together, the harpy perches next to you, Griaz, and wow, you ready?
Yeah. Do you have a preference? I don't want to become I can become a small furry animal. I just don't want that to be like particularly tantalizing towards an aerial-born predator such as yourself. So I'm just
I can carry you as is, big guy, if it makes you feel better.
okay. I am 100% on that.
All right, this may not be
Hey,
comfy, but
what's your name by?
Miriah.
All right. Yeah. Grias. It's nice to meet fellow monster.
Yeah, not enough of us out here. The talons wrap around your shoulders, not enough to dig the claws in painfully. You can tell it's not going to be a comfy ride, but it'll be a practical one. And they, with surprising strength, given their lithe frame, manage to start lifting you off the ground. Israel and Gaharis, you take magical flight as Utaka with Ivron aboard take off in your fly back towards the distant ships. As you're going, you get over the tree line and you're able to see more of the just surrounding conflict and battle. While the ships have not reached the shore yet, they are starting to make their way. You can see Israel, you can see the ships much closer now, and the shields dotting the sides are a mixture of different nations, but one common one you see is the Bluefield Alliance emblem. You can see harpies circling the different ships, which, rather than sails, given that these ships are built by an Underdark dwelling species, are powered by these massive, almost treads that continue to take them closer and closer to the shore as the bell continues to gong its melodic, ominous tone that keeps sending the enemy army into a wild frenzy of fear and panic. And several civilians seem to be getting caught up into it as well. While it's not bringing them any harm, it's certainly causing quite a bit of panic. And the guards and soldiers are struggling just to keep the peace and struggling to set up a shoreline defense, especially when their own men keep retreating. Overall, you guys kind of get a very quick estimate, and assuming the Bluefield Alliance doesn't have any other tricks up their sleeve, it looks like they're dealing with a shore defense of about 2,000 soldiers. But between all of the underling ships, they appear to have about 1,000 heads. So they are going in outnumbered, but given that the bell keeps scaring off enemies, you imagine that they may actually be able to handle it despite the number disadvantage they're at.
What would, knowing what we know about the Ninkolem worshipping halflings and their penchants for absolute chaos, would it be possible to glean whether there is a significant likelihood or threat of them turning on the Bluefield Alliance after the battle is won so they don't have to share?
Make a history check.
Sure. Well, That's a 2 plus, I think, a 1, maybe a 3. I think a 5 is probably... Okay, it's 4.
Given what you know about halflings, you know the underlings aren't too different than them. They are still halflings fundamentally. You can't imagine a halfling being that opportunistic and selfish. So you imagine it should be fine. I mean, they're lending them their best ships after all, and they have to know what the plan is. So there's not likely much for them to gain beyond like helping out their allies. As while underlings are not necessarily considered undercommon per se, similar to dark elves, they're in this kind of weird gray zone. And unlike the dark elves, it appears they've chosen their side.
Okay. Okay. But also the history check I made last session was you probably could convince them to turn on themselves if you just said something.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, your father once beat an entire army by just convincing them to turn on each other, because they are 201 selfish, opportunistic bastards.
Okay. But okay, got it. Then I will not say anything. I would like to... How high up above the city are we flying? Are we, like, out of longbow range?
Significantly.
Okay. So, probably outside of my sight range for if I wanted to look for any dark elves in chains.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the chaos in the city,
yeah.
One could easily slip through your notice.
Alright.
However, that you do get a decent view of the city of Jor. You see that it is primarily a coastal town. Very bustling ports for trade between the various towns on the lake. Although you do also know that as of recent, given your investigation of the local nobility and factions, you do know that Jor has been struggling recently economically, as many of the formerly coastal towns of Mazai have either been taken by the Bluefield Alliance or have gone pirate. So Jor is actually one of the few common ports left in Mazai. So you can also understand why the Bluefield Alliance seems pretty intent on taking or destroying it, as this is the last coastal power their enemy possesses. You can see a wide array of lovely homes, which thankfully, due to the lack of siege weaponry being deployed, there's not a lot of collateral damage going on. Although you do see this is the best look at the fleet you guys have gotten. The bulk of them do not possess the bell. Only the largest one in the center of the fleet possesses it. All the other ones are much smaller, and they possess this odd tubular shape. While cannons have not come to be yet, that would be the best visual I could equate it to. They don't appear to be firing yet, though, whatever it is they are. So they appear to have some sort of weapon they aren't using, although given that you know their objective is to simply reach the city and investigate it, and the battle is simply a cover for that, you imagine they're saving that for if it comes down to the Scorched Earth plan, rather than let the Children of Red Sight destroy it. As you start nearing the fleet a bit more, you get a better view of the nearby mountains, which you can actually see the castle of the local nobles, built up in the mountains, a bit of a walk up away from the town itself. Geharis, you did not have the pleasure of meeting the noble family of Jor, as you know that they are incredibly reclusive and private. Although from what you've heard, they're relatively well-liked nobles, fairly popular among their people. It's just that they kind of keep to themselves up in the mountain. Whether they're even aware of the situation right now, you don't know. It's hard to say.
Do we know what species this noble family is? Are they dwarven or human?
Make me a history check.
I would like to designate Ivron to make the history check, if that's okay.
Yeah, Ivron, if that's good with you.
Would probably be something Ivron would have thought about as they approached, and rolled a nat 20. So
I was so right. I was so right in doing this.
You know that Jor is ruled by the Quinn family, currently ruled by Duke and Duchess Quinn, Duke Quentin Quinn and Duchess Marie Quinn. However, Gaharis talked about the Quinn family in passing from his meetings with nobility, Ivron, so you did some digging on it yourself. And there is something of a rumor, as there always is with noble families. In this case, there is rumor that Duchess Quinn is half orc. And that is part of the reason the family is so reclusive, as they do not want to reveal their undercommon heritage when the kingdom is currently at war with their people. Um, uh, you know that you would know, Ivron, that part of the reason this rumor started is people noticed that Marie Quinn looks unsettlingly like her daughters, like to the point where it definitely shouldn't be natural. And on doing some digging, the rumor goes, well, you have not heard anything to confirm this, the rumor goes that this is a result of extensive makeup and potentially even illusion magic to hide their half-orc features and make them look more presentably human. And on doing some historical digging, this was indeed Orkland before the Emelian Empire arrived.
Phenomenal. I don't think I can relay that to Gaharis at the moment, but I'm sure once we meet, if you were to question me, I would then relay the same.
Okay, noted.
Same information.
You approach the fleet, and while again you can see some of the harpies on the different ships start to immediately kind of get defensive, the one carrying you, Ivron, starts to sing. And as this siren song kind of echoes over the waves and fleets of ships, the harpies all calm a bit. And you guys are either carried, in your case, Griaz, or escorted and just following the harpy behind as you start to approach the flagship, which allows you a better look at it. The flagship is an intimidating behemoth of a vessel with the figurehead of a hydra constructed on the front. And the shields of unfamiliar factions nailed to the side, presumably some underling colonies, although you do recognize Augur's emblem and the emblem of the Bluefield Alliance. The ships, and especially the flagship, are bustling with crew. You see, Utaka, you had spotted this whenever you scouted, but the rest of you start to see it now. Goblins, orcs, harpies, and indeed underlings, these scuttling, whereas the regular halflings are more like mice, these are definitely more rat-like. They're mangy and filthy looking, and they're constantly scuttering and squeaking and twitching as they scuttle about the ship. It seems like the underlings are doing the bulk of the actual work, while the goblins, orcs, and harpies are acting as the actual foot soldiers for the raid. Likely, the negotiation was the underlings would not likely lose any men. They just needed to provide the escort to get the Bluefield Alliance to the shore. Underlings are presumably below deck, pedaling the treads forward. And Utaka, you had not gotten a good look at them your first time, but now as you get closer to actually landing on the ship, as the crew starts to kind of curiously surround where the harpy will land, you can indeed see a underling caked in filth and like almost visibly with colonies of fleas living on them, wearing the rat pelt cloak of a Ninkalim priest. And as they all start to gather, Griaz, you are gently put onto the deck. Utaka and Ivron landing next to them, and Israel and Gaharis and your magical flight landing next to them, kind of elbowing her way through the curious crew. You all see General Morgan Brooke, the sloth-esque bugbear general that had been present at the siege of Veilbright. This pitch curly black fur with long yellowed dull claws, and with a very noticeable kind of underbite, and their gaze looks kind of dull, and you guys got the impression when you first met them in Veilbright that they're probably not necessarily the brightest bulb of the crown drawer, but you don't know exactly what the story is on their participation in the alliance, so it's hard to say. As they kind of nudge their way forward, they kind of look all of you up and down before their eyes. You can definitely see a glint of recognition, and they kind of put their hands to their side. You can see, rather than the ceremonial garb they had been wearing for the siege, which was more to inspire the troops than for actual battle, here they're wearing this heavy pigskin leather coat over the ceremonial Bluefield general uniform, this blue uniform with red stripes, and this thick, meaty orc sword at their side. And as they kind of grin a little bit with their underbite jaw, well, I was wondering when all of you were going to show up.
Well, we are here now, so, hello?
We
They kinda-
appreciate the warm welcome. Israel says this at a deadpan. It is uncertain if she means this sincerely or not.
They kind of hold up their yellow clawed hand and just, look, I'm sorry about the hostility. I got a job to do. I got orders, and we can't assume every blue kid on a fly is on our team. You know what I'm saying? I apologize, and will happily treat any wounds you incurred during the battle.
We'll give you some descriptions of us for next time, just in case.
They kind of give to their credit, respectful bow. They at least seem to acknowledge that this is more their fault. And the harpy kind of perches next to you, Griaz, and they said they're willing to help with the job, help scout the city for the cultists. Are you now? They kind of look around at the crew, who's all like looking really curious, especially the underlings who are kind of like looking side to side. And the general kind of like squints a little bit, and how about you guys come to the captain's quarters? I'll debrief you there with less eavesdropping ears.
That sounds wonderful. As I think I'm just gonna follow her lead, but I'd like to keep an eye out for if there are any, because this is an underling ship, right?
Yes.
If there are any peepholes or like, they're halflings, they can fit in small places. I'd like to be keeping an eye out, like whether there's definitely one of them that would eavesdrop, or has like a small cupboard carved into the ship.
Make a perception check.
I'd love to. Hey, you know, thanks once again, Utaka, for that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful shield. That is a 19.
Okay. You carefully watch as the crew returns to their stations. They are in the middle of battle after all, and they can't afford to stand around and gossip. And the harpy kind of gives all of you a bow before flocking up to the while the ship doesn't have any masts, to the where the bell is mounted, where they are perched alongside their comrades. It seems their job is specifically to defend against potential aerial assaults. And some of the harpies are kind of talking amongst themselves as they watch you guys follow behind the bugbear general. And Utaka, you can see the underling with the rat pelt cloak kind of watches you with a bit of a curious expression, just kind of stares at you as you follow behind Gaharis.
Yeah, I'm giving them an eye too. It's kind of almost like a quirk of a brow. Like, are you coming?
Ninculum to Ninculum communication.
They kind of stare at you for a second, Utaka, and then give a wide smile. And again, it's this like rat-like face, and as the lips part, you can see cracked and broken and yellowed teeth, and you can actually see insects weaving between their fangs. And you swear you see termites. as they lick their chops. And as another underling kind of like looks to them, looks to you, looks to them, and they go to say something, but the underling just kind of whacks them with the staff and just squeaks at them to basically get back to work.
When they squeak, is this in Undercommon or is this in Halfling?
This is in Halfling. You understand him to be saying, "Get back to work!" Does everyone just follow behind General Brooke for now?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You all are taken to the back end of the flagship. The underlings are chattering amongst themselves. Again, most of their job here is just doing the actual labor of running the ship. And as you guys walk beneath this massive bell, easily, like, all of you could fit inside of it. Some of the underlings and orcs give a pull of a chain, and the bell is pulled back before boom. And this close up, you can actually see a wave of magical energy seep out into the surrounding waters. And as it snakes its way to the shore, you can actually see the moment it hits, and the soldiers on the shore start to panic again as the ships continue to draw ever closer.
Is there some magic that keeps us from being afraid? Is this close?
The general kind of turns to look at you and just kind of shakes their head and points to their ears, where you can see they also have earplugs at the moment. And the little rats are just naturally immune to it. I'm guessing you get used to hearing it enough times.
Is that fair? A wonderful cabin you have here.
Yes, as they take you into the captain's quarters, it's actually surprisingly humble. Again, while this is a flagship, it's meant for travel in the Underdark. But you can see shelves stocked with various alchemical and spell components. You can see weapons, armors, a chest presumably full of their personal belongings, a relatively humble barracks bed in the corner, and a desk, chair, and table, which the bugbear sits behind. And they kind of look up at all of you with, again, these kind of like dreary, bloodshot eyes. And all right, let's talk.
So,
One more glance to the sky before I close the doors there. How long does it look like it's going to be before it starts storming?
The blizzard, I'll say, given your domain and stuff, I'll allow it to be kind of a freebie. The blizzard looks like it'll likely hit sometime tonight.
Okay. So a couple more hours or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A few questions, if you will. I figured we'd touch base. You believe that there are agents of the Cult of Red Sight in the city?
Well, I don't know if they are, but I got orders straight from the boss.
The dragon boss?
Unvile.
So, I suppose then, my first question is, if we are able to capture or dispatch the Cult of Red Sight, do you still intend to attack the city?
At this, they kind of pause, and there's a long moment of hesitation before. We intend to take the city, but we want to try and do it minimizing casualties on both sides. We want to keep the high ground, or at least that's what the lady says.
Will the lady be here in this fight?
Sends me to do it for her.
I was about to say, you seem to be outnumbered.
Not going to be outnumbered for long. Half of them are going to start running by the time we get close to shore, and whatever's left, we have backup plans.
How
But-
much do I know about the Emelian Empire? And
Uh,
not about the Empire itself, but like with this bold acclaim, which is like their Hail Mary of a bell, would it be right to assume that by the time they attack, there is a significant portion of chance that the Emelian Empire will have formulated a response to negate it? Are they
I will
equally
say-
competent, or...
Well, I will say, you know that logistically, bear in mind, this battle started just a couple hours ago. You would know that logistically there is no way the Emelian Empire could figure out what's going on, organize an army, and then get it here in time to stop it while it's still in the process of happening. Especially given that you know the weather is about to turn very sour in a couple hours. So it's going to be very difficult for anyone to get in or out of the city in the middle of a dense blizzard.
Well, we do have, we are setting up a waypoint a little bit outside of the city with some of our companions, some of our allies, to get non-combatants out of the city before the battle starts. I know that would be preferable. Then at least only people inside the city are those willing to die for it.
If that's what you want to do.
I think that it is a smart move. It will assist you in not looking as bloodthirsty as the Emelian Empire was when they arrived. It will show compassion. And with the goodwill of getting these non-combatants out of the city, perhaps they are more likely to assist us in finding these cult of red site agents that may be in there.
Ever since Veilbright, Lady Unvile's been real wrapped up in this red site business. I don't much get it personally, but she says that we're to consider them the higher priority than the Empire and their allies.
I look to my companions, like, I think that they can probably speak to this more.
So, I'll speak plainly. The risk that you could be lured into a trap or lured into many Pyrrhic victories with the Emelian Empire as a result of the meddling of the cult of Red Sight is high, considering that's exactly what they tried to do in Veilbright. I assume that's why Lady Unvile views them as a higher priority than the Empire.
Bingo. And, well, they kind of hesitate, but eventually. She says that I'm to trust you all with whatever you need. We lost Augur to the cult a few weeks back.
Now, when you say lost, do you mean it was moved physically somewhere, or it is not accessible, or everyone is dead?
Call them B, call them C. Last we heard, these bugs, like little crabs, appeared in the streets. They didn't know what it was, but said that they was killing folks. So we tried to send in men to do what we could. And There's a look of genuine, like, horror on their face, and
Did the bugs eat people? Are they poisonous?
they stick to you, and while they's biting away at your flesh, you turn and attack your own.
I see. That is very threatening.
Your allies out there, and I'll nod back to the door through which the underlings are. They ain't got nothing to say about that.
Said it's nothing to do with them or their freaky little rat god. And if there's one thing I know about an underling, it's that they'd take credit even if it wasn't them. So I believe them when they say they've got nothing to do with it.
I see.
They're
How many casualties?
among our own or in the city.
Both. Anyone of note lost?
They pause for a moment, and I know it probably won't mean too much to you, but General Sorrow was in Augur when it was lost.
Sorrow was what
The
species?
goblin general that accosted you at the camp.
Okay. Ah, poor sweet boy.
We don't know if there's anything as can be done for him. We tried pulling the bugs off, but it doesn't do nothing. They just swarm you, eat you
Israel's gonna
alive.
pull out a piece of paper and she's going to sketch out the Faebug things that they saw in the prince's castle. And she is going to show it. Do they look like this?
Them's the ones. Why? They elsewhere?
It may very well be the cult, but they aren't the ultimate source. And she's just gonna slide that paper back with that.
That's what Lady Unvile thinks as well. The cultist is going after everyone. And it's going to be hard to win a war when we can't trust our own no more. So, Lady sends me to deal with Jor once and for all, and deal with the Red Sight folk too in one fell swoop. If we can't take the city, I have orders to destroy it.
Have you tried Parlay?
Tried that already.
Who did you get in contact with?
General ashore, but they don't negotiate with Bluefield people. We're monsters, remember?
Is the general allied with the lord and lady of the city, or?
Probably.
Well, they have never negotiated with the best negotiating team around. I'm not sure the group of us.
Lady Unvile says I'm to reduce casualties, so I'll be willing to try anything.
If they have any specifications, do you have anything you can offer them?
I'm to negotiate this from a position of strength, not a position of weakness. We has the fleet, we has the army, and they're losing the city, one way or another.
Sometimes it is from a position of strength that you can give something. It is better to not repeat the past mistakes. After all, where does it end? If you slaughter, their army takes a city. In 100, 1,000 years, more of them will come, and they will say, these are the examples that we were given as children as to why we are going to retake these. Much like why you are all taking back your homeland. There is no way to break this cycle except to start forward with a different story.
You sound just like her.
Lady Unvile?
Yeah. She uses that fancy talk too. Says that we need to be all PC, work together to stop the Red Eyes. That sort of thing.
She's not wrong.
I don't know much about it. I'm just following orders.
So, here is my proposal if I was in a seat of power negotiating with them. I would say we would prefer not to have bloodshed. Not because we are unwilling to fight, and not because we believe we will lose, but because we are trying to be better, and there are bigger threats. So, why not create a joint force? You can send some of yours with us when we travel into cities. They can send some of theirs with us. I believe that once they have seen what the Cult of Red Side can do, they will understand why it is important to work together. And if Augur fell, as you say, do you think that these bugs will stop because you are on a boat in the water? Do you think that they care if you are human, elf, Gambio, bugbear?
We was hoping to take one of the Red Eye guys hostage, and maybe Lady Unvile could convince him to stand down, or at least give us some kind of information. We don't know what we're dealing with, how many there are, where they are. And we still have a war to fight, cult or no cult.
We are actually in the process of working on a negotiation with a Cult of Red Scythe member, as we have many questions about them, and we have had very little answers, as most of the members that we have met, we have ended up either capturing or killing. I motioned to Utaka, who was the one that actually talked to Kenny Caldwell.
Wave a couple fingers.
They kind of think for a moment, and so the plan is that you're propositioning is you go in with my guys, convince them to work with us to find the Red Eyes. Whether we find them or not, what? We just sail away?
I don't think that sailing away would be in your best benefit. And I motion towards the door. After all, they have been promised something, and I think they are likely to turn on you if they are not given something.
They's getting something out of it.
What are they
Perhaps
getting?
we can negotiate a tribute of some kind. Would your people be appeased then?
We've been talking up this raid for a long time. If we take the city, that's the last boat power that the Emelian Empire's got. And all that's left on the ocean is us and pirates. And pirates, you can at least throw enough money at them and they'll sail away. It's going to be hard to convince us to just give up the Lake of Mazai without a fight.
What if,
Well, better we convince them to give up the Lake of Mazai without a fight.
And he nods to you, Utaka. Those little rat freaks, they...
That's fucking enough of that.
The underlings. They like having test subjects to experiment on. And we promised anyone we took alive they could take back down to the dark with them. More than enough to convince them to stay in line, at least till things wrapped up here.
Are you okay with that?
Doesn't make a difference to me. Few humans, elves, and dwarves have to take a few blisters, get a nasty little flu, and in exchange we get this boat. It's more than fair, I say.
And what happens when they come back with their armies and they take out your occupying force and they skin bugbears for pelts and they rip off the horns of satyrs and say, well, this is for what they did and sent our people down into the dark. Do you want to win as monsters? Or do you want to win? Or does it not matter?
At this, you can see that the general actually does give some pause, and she thinks for a long moment before. We're not going to win if we keep trying to be the nice guys.
A war crime's a war crime, no matter who's committing it. But at least be sure you know what you're doing.
All right. Our current plan, Lady Unvile says, is we get to the shore and maybe we plunder a little bit, but no one's to get hurt. We just scout the city out, try and find these dark elves with the chains, and if we find them, or any other red eyes, take them back on the ship. And then step 2. Once we get to shore, a few of our guys are going to head to the castle and take the Duke and the Duchess hostage. And we hope when we have their necks on the line, they'll give up the city without a fight if it means they walk. And if all that fails, and they reach in their coat and pull out 2 bags of holding.
So I believe the first plan should be send us ashore first. Once we have worked a small bit of negotiation, we will convey that, send some of yours over, and we will get the Cult of Red Site members. If we can arrange a tribute to be paid rather than ransacking, that seems like a benefit. It keeps you and your men from having to burn down and get into potential bloodshed. And we negotiate that the noble family surrenders themselves over. In exchange, nobody has to die.
And if they say no?
If they say
I think we can be very persuasive when utter annihilation is on the line.
All right. I'm willing to give it a shot, but if you can't pull it off, I want you and yours to get out of the city, far away as you can.
Our job is to hunt the Cult of Red Site. Even if we cannot convince them, I am going to continue to hunt them. If I have to fight through 2 armies to get there, I will.
It's not what I'm saying. If they refuse to surrender and we can't take them by force, then you can't sword fight your way out of a blast like that.
Let's worry about that bridge when we come to it.
How's Griaz feeling? I would like to take a look at Griaz and Ivron, get a feel for where they stand.
So, Griaz, I mean, especially seeing another bugbear, because it's been a minute. Yeah, I think he's maybe gritting his teeth a little bit. He does not agree with the stance that this commander has of, it's either us or them sort of shit. Because he literally had to make that decision, like what, last night, to be the bigger person. So, also, just when it comes to strategy sort of stuff, he lets the fancy boys take the reins on that because they literally got the training on it. So yeah, he's literally not going to speak unless spoken to in this situation. Also because his plan was to turn the bell into a mimic and just let it rampage through the streets. So.
Less
Well, I
of
guess
a
we're
war
not
crime than
doing
what
that
they're
now.
considering.
Yeah, I mean,
to be fair,
it's
less of a war crime.
We'll consider that Plan D. Okay.
And Avron?
As far as Ivron goes, he's just stood there stoically. If there is any emotion behind his features, it might be his eyes glow a little bit more brightly at the mention of allowing the underlings to take people down under to commit experiments. I don't think he's cool with that. But all in all, Ivron looking to Gaheris is, I guess, more than willing to back his plan. If they can negotiate a successful transition, then he's for it. Even if that means everybody in Jor has to leave. He just doesn't want innocents to die.
Gosh, okay. Legally speaking in this game, Matt, how much right does the Goldshine Investigation Agency have to occupy a city?
They cannot occupy a city. The only jurisdiction they have is that they essentially have some loose freedoms to, for instance, if you heavily suspect supernatural activity, you do have permission to, for instance, trespass, but you can't like steal and loot, and you cannot occupy. Both because most field teams would lack the numbers. However, you do technically have the authority to say that an entire Dominion is under Goldshine investigation. However, that would not be occupation. That would essentially just be like, essentially people have to go through you rather than the local leadership. And even then the local leadership has to acquiesce to you doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my next thought was, what is the feasibility that we say we suspect there is supernatural stuff going on in the city? We are acting as a liaison between both the Emelian Empire and the Bluefield Alliance to jointly work together to solve this.
There would be legal precedent. It would just be a matter of convincing them, as that you have to convince the Undercommon to work with people who treat them like monsters, and work with the people who treat them like monsters to not treat them like monsters for a couple hours.
Yeah, I mean, but we also do have a large group following now that do stand like in the middle. So I think we at least have.
So yeah. Legally speaking, there's precedent for that. It's just a matter of convincing them to actually do it.
Okay. Then I would voice that as a suggestion. Look around my teammates on what their thoughts are, as well as the general.
Israel looks distinctly more comfortable with that sort of option than some of the others that have been floated. Because she is also not on the vein of, I don't want to send people down to the Underdark to be experimented on, but she also looks like she's only sort of half invested in the conversation. She's also clearly thinking about something else.
Yeah, but even if we fucking do get in there and everyone plays nice and we find the cultists, which we've done before, so yeah, whatever, we can do that. But like, that ain't gonna stop, because y'all want the fucking port, right?
That's the idea.
Yeah, so that ain't gonna stop them from wanting the place just to have the place.
Although,
if I may, I don't mean to interject, but if the Emelian city really cared about this port, they would have had an army here. As far as I'm concerned, as much as I don't want to be a part of this war, they should surrender.
and Lady Unveil says I'm to compromise with you lot. So if you guys do your fancy negotiating, maybe my guys just take out the dock. That way we still gets the naval power, but the city can still stand as they wish.
We're gonna need a ship.
I have a ship.
All right.
That reminds me. What do I tell the rats? If we's not taking hostages, then they's not going to be happy.
Tell them that. Well, sorry, because it's been so many weeks. I apologize for breaking character again. The halflings can be cured of the illnesses they have. I believe we established.
Yeah. Like the illnesses are just more circumstantial of living filthily in the Underdark.
But right now they're on the surface.
Yeah. So them having illnesses and toxins is not the main problem. It's just the behaviors that got cultivated in their Underdark empire make it hard for them to be social. Let's call it.
Well, there are several powerful healers amongst our group. Perhaps we could at least cure the ailments and illnesses they have picked up in the Underdark, as well as we have a acolyte.
I don't think that's what they want.
Bad idea. They understand they like being all gross and sick.
I suspect the experiments are not to find cures for their afflictions, but to find worse afflictions to afflict people with.
Then I suppose that they would probably listen to a more powerful cleric or of Ningalip. And I look to Utaka, one who has spoken to a god directly.
And if that doesn't work,
then
well,
I'm going to have to carve my way through all of them.
And my boys and I are more
We're
than
not
happy to
gonna
help.
do that.
We're not?
No.
Then what do you suggest?
If their leader isn't gonna play nice, maybe they need a new leader. We're not gonna fucking murder all of them.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have to murder many of them. I probably could have just had them turn on each other.
You said carve your way through them.
How about we leave the followers of Ninkalim to the other followers of Ninkalim, and let's focus on one problem at a time, shall we?
All right, so you lot are going to go ashore and try and negotiate. I'll have the birds keep an eye on it, and if you need backup or things go well, then we'll send some boys to help you look for the red eyes, and I can try and convince them to just take out the dock and the boats. But
why the boats? Don't you want them?
we already got boats. Problem is, we don't want the Empire having boats. That way we have all the boats.
Then maybe we could have a boat.
Yeah, what I'm missing here is y'all want, like, the entire naval power of the lake, right?
Aye.
So why are you fucking torching boats you can take?
Easier to break them than to take them.
And harder to build them.
Yeah.
There's pillage on those boats.
And you're looking for something to make your allies you're about to fucking cross happy? Like they don't want more boats?
I could try and talk them into it.
Not just
Alright.
that, depending on how many red site cultists we find, perhaps a few of them might find their way to the followers of Ninkalim. possession. But that all depends on the numbers, I suppose.
Lady Unvile was smart enough not to specify how many bodies they were going to get. We can work with that. All right. Go ashore, do your fancy talk, and we'll be on standby if you need us. But if things don't go well, we're taking the city, one way or another.
Y'all have anyone who can contact us?
A wizard?
The rat
Or a
priest.
cleric?
Rat priest can do magic. I'm sure he's got something up his filthy little sleeves for it.
Wonderful. It sounds like we have reached a accord.
Yeah, aye. Just and he looks to you, Taka. Or yeah, and she looks to you. Just make sure you say hello to the rat on the way out so that they know how to get a hold of you. That's how the magic works, right? You need to know faces
Something
and names.
like that.
Aye. They kind of pause, and you can see that they're kind of like considering for a long moment, like that kind of like squinty face of like definitely trying to like recall something that they're like struggling to remember, and oh, I know how to do the magic talk as well. Right. I could try and get a hold of you if you don't want to talk to the rat.
If y'all are gonna fucking invade, just give us some warning.
Aye.
You can call me. Alright. And I'm gonna pull out one of those coins and put it down on the table and slide it towards her.
She kind of looks at it curiously and kind of crinkles their bugbear nose a little bit at it, but they do take it and kind of walk it along their fingers before shrugging and pocketing it.
It's steel.
No, it's a coin, actually.
Yeah. True.
All right. Should I have the rat stop swinging the bell then?
Nah, because we want to evacuate as much of the city as we can. If anything, it's helping.
Is that this fair?
I do also have an idea.
Oh?
Fear's not the only feeling that bell can make. Maybe I could make the people on shore a little more likely to listen to you.
Is that the good work?
I'll tell the rats to change up the tune then. They stand up to their relatively imposing bugbear height and just... That it then?
That sounds like it's for me. And I will head towards the door.
Oh, and one more thing, all of you. Lady Unvile says that I'm to tell you, thank you for warning us about the red eyes, and that we're on your side in this.
Perhaps if we accomplish our task, she can thank us herself. And Iran will leave as well.
All right. Any final things from everyone before you leave the captain quarters?
Israel is going to ensure that she is the last one to leave because she is going to speak briefly and quietly with the general herself.
Okay. Griaz, Harris. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to grab something on my way out.
Just
Something
anything.
small and portable.
Thieving.
Make a sleight of hand check.
I want to steal. Is the right
I
word.
want to steal.
Oh, okay. That's a 23.
And their passive perception, I do not believe is that. The wisdom is not their best stat. Yep, okay. You just kind of like walking around a little bit, kind of almost like making it look like you're pacing. You pass by one of the shelves and just grabbed anything that fits in your hand and pocket it before making your way out. Okay. All right, noted. Geharis, Grias, any final things before you leave as well? Okay. Israel, everyone leaves ahead of you, and the doors briefly shut, leaving you and and General Brooke alone, who kind of tilts their head at you curiously.
She offers out that paper that initially had the drawing of the bug on it. Now it also has the bug and what she knows of their weaknesses, as well as on the back a description of her and her friends and some small likenesses for later. You might find this useful when you're dealing with those bugs in the future.
She takes it and kind of looks it over, kind of skims it briefly, and gives you a nod and slips it into their coat pocket. Thank you.
And she'd dip her head and then promptly exit.
Yeah, which she follows right behind you. And Geharis, since you did not hear or see any sign of underling observation, thankfully. However, as you exit, you can see several of them are like curiously watching the captain's quarters. And as the door shuts with Israel and General Brooke leaving, Brooke gives a piercing whistle that echoes over the ship. All right, people, change of plans. Switch us over to a Charmin Bell. We're going to try these negotiations again. And if that fails, burn the city to the ground. The underlings kind of like, ah! But start to ring the bell again. And this time as it gives a more like chiming like sound this time. And the magical energy that shoots out is not the dark colors of fear, but now this like bright poppy, almost pink color of a charming spell as the bell has changed its tune. And as the underlings are reeling it back up for another ring, Brooke turns to all of you and, all right, best of luck. You need a longboat, or do you want the birds to carry you?
Probably a longboat. That might be better.
Aye. Ready the longboats, rats! And some of the underlings kind of like, ah! But start readying a small rowboat for all of you off the side of the flagship. Is there anything any of you would like to do before getting into it and being lowered into the water?
Is Mariah still around?
Yes, you can see her up in the rafters where the bell is being swung from.
Okay. If I could just flag her down.
Yeah, which she kind of looks to her comrades and flutters down and perches in front of you. Yeah.
Hey, I didn't say thank you for the ride earlier. I just want to say I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem.
Hey, I don't know how y'all do your scouting above the city or whatnot, but you know, if I was just gonna say if you happen to be around, see us in trouble, if you don't mind relaying that. If y'all need anything, I mean, I'll be easy enough to spot, I think. So, you know, just keep in touch.
Can do, big guy. We'll keep an eye out for you.
All right.
And with that, she takes off back up, and you can see some of the comrades are kind of getting like jolted a bit by the now much more vigorous ringing of the bell. But they do maintain their footing as they seem to be more just waiting for orders at this point. Anything from the rest of you?
I will go and introduce myself to the Warlock Cleric. Not really sure on that. Getting some conflicting tales.
From what you were told, it's a warlock.
Yeah, but then I don't know. She was saying.
Well, she clearly doesn't know them very well, to be fair.
Yep.
All right. You approach. The underling is getting a better look at them now. You can see this like kind of these bleary, bulging red rat eyes that kind of like reflect the cloudy sky. And they give a wide smile as you approach. You can see their fur is like this kind of gray color, but it's actually tinged slightly with green from what looks to be like mosses and algae clinging to it. And they wield a staff that is tipped what you initially thought to be a skull, but you can actually see that it is indeed a skull, but it's carved in such a way to where it resembles a beaked face.
So, question, point of order then. All those bugs on them, are they technically charmed?
You actually don't know, given that you are both agents of Ninkalim. It's kind of hard to tell. But
I'm wondering if I would not know because the pin would start kind of charming them. If not.
Yeah. I will say make me a nature check with advantage.
Sure.
Because I do have an answer.
So that was a 4 and a 17 for an 18.
From the looks of it, they do not seem to be immediately charmed, as the Spectre Pin does not immediately take effect when they are already being charmed by someone else. However, they don't appear hostile to you either. Neither does the underling themselves, for that matter. They kind of like give a wide, again, unsettling, filthy grin to you, and give a deep bow and a pleasure to meet you.
What language are they speaking in?
That was in common.
A glance over at my companions are any of them like?
You're all on the ship.
Are any of them? Do they seem invested in this conversation? Is more what I'm.
I mean, Israel like sort of checks in and is like, "Oh, you're talking to the guy," and then she's more concerned about like the positioning of the boat and then the water and the boat and the water. She like is like, "I really don't want to fall out of that boat into the water." It's ugh, seawater.
Alright. He'll turn back down to him. Yeah, pleasure. General over there thinks you can contact me. That's something you can do.
Of course. A basic spell for a powerful warlock like me. I leads as the raids. I summon the plagues.
Alright. I'll pull out one of those coins and kind of flick it and then toss it to him.
They catch it and, pulling from their filthy rat pelt cloak, flick a coin to you.
Which I will catch.
As you look it over, Utaga, you don't see the visage of Ninkalim like you expect. You see a symbol that's unfamiliar to you. The symbol of a staff with twin snakes intertwining up it.
Okay, so unfamiliar, so there's no roll for that.
Oh, no, I'm saying it's not immediately familiar, but you can roll for it if you like. Make me a history check. Or religion, I'll let you choose.
I will choose the one I'm proficient with.
Okay, go for it.
That will be a 15.
You do recognize this symbol, although you've never seen it used religiously in this context. They've been mentioned before, but you've not seen their symbology used like this. You know this is the symbol of the Plague Doctor. Not quite a god, more of a... Think of them as an angel, essentially. A lesser deity that does not have the cosmic political boundaries that gods do. In exchange for having less overall power, they have a greater reach. Whereas, for instance, Ninkalim would struggle to summon plagues in a place where he is not actively worshipped. The Plague Doctor can summon them anywhere, regardless of worship. The Plague Doctor is not only not quite a god, worship of them is actually actively forbidden in most places. As unlike Ninkalim, which is a purely neutral deity that it does pestilence because to some degree it is necessary, the Plague Doctor, you've heard stories. They are almost seen as a boogeyman-esque figure on a religious scale. The Plague Doctor is a malicious, scientifically minded deity that deliberately spreads contagions and toxins and diseases of all sorts because it's interesting and fun. You've even heard stories that anyone dressed as a Plague Doctor could be them in disguise, deliberately going to parties and costume balls to spread contagions without being visibly obvious to those around them. And this symbol is only seen in one context normally, as again, worship of them is typically forbidden on the surface. Doctors, some, will have it tattooed on the back of their hand as a sign of loyalty. They are doctors known as oath breakers, who have given in to the Plague Doctor's whims and deliberately infect their patients rather than cure them.
All right, so my eyes kind of flash a bit at that, and as I look up at him again, and I'll look over the rest of his crew. Are any of them wearing anything that is... Yes, they're wearing, like, rat pelts. Are any of them wearing anything that specifically I would associate with Ninkalim, or are they perhaps being misread?
You know that they are perhaps being misread. While the ones you can see that have any visible iconography, you see Plague Doctor masks, staffs that have a beaked visage at the end, and several of them have medallions, tattoos, or things of that nature of the twin snakes entwining the staff. Whether it is a misidentification on their part or on others, you do not know. But it seems that they are worshiping this malicious deity of contagion rather than yours. Although they do seem to consider you something of a kindred, despite that.
All right, I'm gonna give them a very long stare before I sort of turn wordlessly, because I don't have time to deal with this right now.
Bye-bye! May the plagues be with you!
Actually, we're hoping the exact opposite, but gee, thanks.
All right. If there's nothing final, you're all helped onto the longboat. Although the goblins and orcs take over for that, as they can sense that you do not necessarily want these underlings touching you. Although Geharis, as you kind of crane your neck as a few orcs help you into the longboat, you can see some of the underlings whispering to the warlock, who whispers to them in turn, and they keep kind of glancing to you guys as group as this happens. You're all let into the longboat, which is slowly lowered.
And they
General.
And they're looking at us. Like, what is the sense I get when they're looking at us? Is it like, oh my gosh, they're so interesting, or is it a
Make an insight
undertone?
check.
Yeah, okay. I'll use my chat inspiration. That is well, the first one is a 2 + 3. That's a 5. And the second one is a 14 + 3 for a 17.
You get the sense that it's not necessarily hostile. It is more a curiosity. However, you do, from what your father talked about with the underlings and just from the vibe you're getting, you get the impression that it's a mixture of just genuine curiosity that does not have ill intent, mixed with a certain degree of gauging you for potential weaknesses. It is sort of an unspoken cultural thing for underlings that anyone you talk to, you immediately find their weaknesses so that you are ready to exploit them the moment the chance presents itself. So you get the impression that they are not hostile, but they are almost like scanning your party for weak links, obvious weaknesses, things they can take advantage of in the event that you do not suit their interests any further.
Sure. Okay. That changes. So I guess before I step on the boat, I will, strike an intimidating pose, and I don't need them to make a save or anything, this is for flavor, but I'm going to use my Conquering Presence, which causes fear on any target within a 30-foot radius. And I'd like to pair it to a intimidation check. If you would be so kind to allow me.
Sure, I'll allow that.
Sure. Would you like
and
me to make the roll with advantage, or?
Well, okay, so first, what's the roll for resisting the
it is
fear?
a Wisdom DC 16.
Which they fail. Yes, intimidation with advantage.
Sure. And I just look at them, and I pat, like, the black-plated armor, and then I pull off my mask for a second, or helmet, and I bare my teeth at them, as I've seen Utaka do countless times towards anyone. And then,
exactly, it's the smile that's definitely not a smile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is a smile that looks like I could eat every single one of you, and all the poisons and all the toxins you have will not hurt me. And that is the level of threat that is there, and then I just put the helmet back on and get in the boat.
Make that intimidation check with advantage.
How does a nat 20 for a 26 treat you?
Sexy.
All of you, as you're getting into the boat, can kind of see Gaharis doing this, and you all also notice, Gaharis, you notice this as well, all the underlings, black smoke emanates from their mouths and funnels towards Gaharis and into his blade, as they all immediately start like scattering and scuttering around the boat, including the Warlock, who like raises their staff over their head and kind of crouches, almost like they're trusting in the plague doctor to protect them rather than just chancing it and running. And you can still hear their like high-pitched squeaky screaming as the boat is lowered, and you all can see the orcs and goblins like
Israel just like raises a brow at Harris, and she looks highly amused.
Yeah, the orcs and goblins seem like they're getting a bit of a laugh out of it.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna get the boat. I don't even say anything. It is just, I'm gonna be more intimidating as a figure than anything else.
As your boat reaches the water and the orcs and goblins start hoisting the ropes back on to allow you guys to start rowing to shore, General Brooke leans over the side and just say the word if they start killing you or anything, all right? Right, you got it. And
How far about... Well, okay, so we're in a longboat and we're not quite at shore yet, so this is going to be a bit of rowing.
yeah.
At least 10 minutes worth of rowing.
Oh, easily.
Okay. I would like to not participate in that rowing and let other people row instead.
Okay.
I would like to ritual cast a spell.
Okay. As you guys start rowing your way to shore, as the boats are fast, but they seem to be kind of deliberately maintaining a somewhat slow, steady pace to intentionally instill fear among the shore's inhabitants, and especially with the new change of plans. So with that being said, you guys start to row to shore as the boats slow and eventually stop, as the plans have changed and negotiations are back on the table. And I think there we're going to take a break.
Oh My goodness. All right, everybody, we will see you shortly. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll be back at it. You know, maybe doing peace talks. Maybe getting swarmed by thousands of troops. You never know. But we will be back shortly. Take care. And don't go anywhere.
screen at some point.
Hello, everybody. We're back again. Oh my gosh, you may be asking where from. Well, we were on break. I hope you had your juice boxes and your gummy bears. Looking at you, Troke.
All right. Are we ready to
Someone
dive
clip
back
this
in?
so that when Troke does see it, they feel called out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, as you guys begin to row towards the distant shore, the gradual advance of the underling armada slowing and gradually stopping as word begins to spread among the greenskins and rat folk that the battle is to at least be temporarily suspended until negotiations are concluded. Parley is being struck. Is there anything you guys would like to discuss in the relative privacy of the longbow while you row to shore?
I think at this point is when Ibron would tell Gaharis and everyone else about the ruling family, just so that way in game they can say they know.
Okay. So, yeah, Ivron informs all of you that the Quinn family, rumor has it that they are descended from orc blood, and that they are overall relatively well-liked leaders, and opinions are relatively high.
Taka doesn't seem to be listening to any of that, as he is muttering and shielding looks to be like a sort of like a metal censer as a trail of like incense flows behind the boat as they go.
All right.
Rios will do the rowing and he'll be singing himself a little sea shanty.
All right. Gaharis, anything?
Israel is just keeping time for Griaz with a thump of her foot for his rowing.
I scoop up a cup of seawater as we are sailing, and I'm going to cast Armor of Agathis at 2nd level on myself.
Okay.
So I am covered with a magical force, and I get 10 temp HP.
Okay.
Which I think it just flavors, it just gives my armor like a little glisten, like a little hint of gold. The real Kenny Caldwell experience.
All right. And Utaka, you said you were casting a spell, ritual casting on the way to shore?
Mm-hmm.
What are you
I would
casting?
like to ritual cast divination.
All right. Double checking. I always forget what that spell does.
I get to ask a single question concerning something that will happen within 7 days, and you have to reply truthfully.
Yes. Okay. All right. Ask away.
I am directing this towards Ninglim.
Okay.
I'm kind of he's muttering to himself, and I think most of this would be occurring like in Halfling, so I don't know if any of you know Halfling. Well, in that case, after the slow, long cast of the muttering of the spell, when he eventually gets to when he feels that like the magic sort of coalesce, he will ask, "What do you want? You want me to bring him back to you? That it?"
There's a pause. And as you look up, the party is continuing to row, but you see slouched with their hands steepling beneath their chin as they smile friendly at you. Ninkalim, the halfling god. Between Israel and Griaz, who don't appear to notice him. And as they kind of look at you, their mousy tail kind of flicking and wrapping in the air around them. Referring to who?
The halflings back there,
Hmm.
the underlings, they ain't following you.
No. Well, some do, but it's more of a pantheon of pestilence, as they like to call it. But I'm not the one in charge, if that's what you mean. As for bringing them to me, I'd certainly appreciate it. It's not difficult to convince an underling to change sides if they think someone is going to do them more of a favor. Convince them to turn away from Beakface, and, well, I'd certainly be happy. I can't promise I'll do you any favors in return, unless you ask.
Okay. Kind of looks back over his shoulder towards the boat. And then glances back. Is Ninklin like still here?
Yeah.
Okay. He looks a little bemused. You wanted to talk to me?
I always like hearing from you.
Why?
Does a general not like to commune with their soldiers once in a while?
Do they?
They do. Barracks parties, small little bits of humanization, that sort of thing. Is it so strange for the divine to take some sort of interest in mortal life?
Everyone around me seems to act like it is. Him especially. I will nod over towards Ivron.
They kind of glance to Ivron, and you can see a very visible smirk as they turn back to you. I suppose it's not an unfair assumption given where you are. But rest assured, everyone has a bit of a part to play. Your interests are my interests, Utaka, just as yours are mine. Rest assured, you are achieving our goals through what you're doing. Amphitrites and I both.
Yeah, I was thinking that. And kind of looks up to the sky.
She's not as confident as I am, granted, but she's on your side firmly for the time being, fickle as she may be.
Yeah, well.
I can assure you, you are doing exactly what we want you to do.
He kind of prays a little bit.
And for now, that's all you need to know. Although, feel free to get in touch with me if you're curious about answering any further questions. I do very much like hearing from you, and I like keeping tabs on how things are going. But it's nice to know that my confidence is not completely unmerited. Believe me, it was hard in the early days to maintain everyone else's sense of confidence in what we were doing, but
Can I insight check that?
you can.
Can I insight check a god?
You
I
can
do
try.
that?
What are you
Yeah, okay.
inciting for?
Is there anything I can glean about this proposed divine conspiracy where it sounds like more other gods than just him and Umberly are trying to do something?
You can attempt an insight check.
Okay.
Just take another 10 minutes. Cast the spell again.
Okay, so that is going to be a 23.
Their expression's difficult to read. They are divine after all. But I will say you do get the faintest flicker, that kind of grin, like kind of as they look to the side. The expression of somebody who kind of realizes they may have said a bit too much, but isn't necessarily beat up about it. So you get the impression that there's something they're not telling you, and that they know they just slipped a little bit, but they're not super concerned.
Oh no, I've said too much.
Yeah. But as they kind of swish their tail around in the water, they give you another smile. And have I answered your questions to your satisfaction?
Yeah.
All right. I wish you luck.
I always seem to find that.
Toodles. And with that, they vanish. And the only sign of any of this that any of you saw was Utaga kind of looking around as they mumbled to themselves. And Gaharis, you and Griaz's rowing was briefly, Griaz, as you were rowing to the beat Israel's creating, when they swished their tail in the water, you kind of briefly saw like a little bit of like some like what appear to be fly larvae clinging to your paddle, and Griaz, you kind of have to like knock them off a little bit before continuing to row. Utaka, your vision vanishes, but your question answered, although new questions have presented themselves in their wake.
A little bit.
Is there anything else before you guys get to shore?
So now would be the most opportune time for us to probably talk about what our selling points might be.
You don't have any idea, do you?
I figured you should surrender so that you don't all die was a pretty good one. Albeit, I am assuming at least a few of the soldiers have a death wish.
Yeah,
They would be.
my concern is in war, surrender so you all don't die is typically always on the table, and not a lot of people pay attention to it.
Is there a possibility we could try and ensure that the noble family is there? Do you think there's a chance that they could sway enough people in the room to possibly consider it?
Perhaps. Brother, what are your thoughts?
Well, as I say, I don't think we need to worry about the noble family. As I discussed, rumors have them kept in a castle, it seems. I fear that we need to sway this general, captain of the defense. He's the one that seems to have a death wish. All I care about are getting the innocent people out, or at least safe.
Then perhaps we don't convince them just yet. We stall for time. We try to convince them that we're here to eliminate a mutual threat. And then at that point, perhaps lay the groundwork for mutiny, potentially, with some others who value their lives more than they value the glory for this general.
I don't suppose he'd be willing to fight a one-on-one battle for the fate of the city.
You could try, but I would hope he wasn't quite that dull.
He may be
He
an
might be
officer
down for
who
that.
can't just take out an officer and assume his claim or his rank.
If he did agree to that sort of thing, he probably wouldn't fight himself. He'd pick out the biggest, strongest, whatever, and put them
That's
up
true.
against
And there's no guarantee any of his men would back him up. They'd see their commander die and then swarm in like a pack of jackals or something.
It being such a small garrison, I think that the perpetual blockade might be the best route to go when trying to convince them. No one needs die. They just can no longer use the waters.
That's true. A blockade's going to ruin their chances of trade or resupply in a timely fashion anyway, especially once the blizzards start rolling in and make roads impassable.
And ultimately, it will give us some time. No doubt, once there is a blockade, there will be an Amelian response, but by that time, we could have a better plan as to getting those who do not want to be involved in this war away.
How many hours do we have before the storm sets in?
2.
How many people can we get out of the city in 2 hours and ensure that they will not freeze to death?
As I said, I don't think them leaving the city right now is the best solution. I think the blockade would be best. No one need leave, and it's an easy transition.
I agree. Then we also have the topic of the Children of Red Sight. If we can get them to agree to a small joint force to join the Goldshine Investigations, perhaps there's common ground that they can find with a common enemy who threatens their well-being.
What do you think the likelihood of me calling Kenny? Think he'll tell us anything about whoever's hiding around up here?
Perhaps.
Is it worth asking?
I think it's a 50-50 shot, so if you want to waste the spell on that, that's your choice. I'm not sure I trust him enough to believe whatever he tells me anyway.
But wouldn't it be a good chance to give him opportunity for that?
It'd be an
We're
interesting
about to go
barometer.
in there anyway.
It'd be interesting to see what he tells us.
It's also entirely possible that he doesn't know anything.
Sure.
But it doesn't hurt.
It's not hurt.
Whoever's in there is gonna know we're coming anyway, so.
They always do.
So, we go to the castle, or we go to this officer, and let them know that there's been a ceasefire until we found these peoples.
That could work.
And then we try to negotiate the transition.
If we come in offering them, we've negotiated a ceasefire in order to resolve this problem, perhaps they'd be more willing to listen to any other concessions we bring to them.
Exactly. Everyone would just look to Geharris at this point and be like, I'm following your lead, brother.
Geharris looks at his armor, looks at you with your shiny golden eyes, and goes, I think it's better if you make the case. If it comes from a tiefling, it's not... I'm much better.
Ring a little
scaring
insincere,
people.
would it?
Who the
I have no
words
problem
come from
speaking.
makes the difference.
Well, He's got this shiny badge anyway. I'll nod over to everyone.
I have no I have no problem speaking on our behalf, but this is your call. You are the one that seemed to have formed an alliance with Bluefield.
But we're your team, aren't we?
Yes, and I yours.
Sure. But can't you say, without lying, because it ain't no lie, can't you say, we, the Goldshine Investigation, the team that you're the captain of, has negotiated a ceasefire?
I suppose I can.
On top of that, we are doing our job first and foremost.
We might be able to swing it.
Alliances are secondary.
Do you think we'd be able to convince them that these cultists are the cause of the Bluefield on their shores? And perhaps gain their buy-in that way? If the cult is gone, then perhaps the Bluefield Alliance will be more accommodating to being lenient. Which isn't necessarily a lie either.
If they are eliminated, I think that the deal would be that they get to keep their city. Their boats are forfeit in the docks, which is
That's right.
still a better trade than they would get elsewise.
Especially when the alternative is they're going to launch what they're planning to launch at this city, should it be refused.
Griaz, what are your thoughts?
I think when it comes down to it, this is a war that we have somehow put ourselves into the middle of. Preferably, step back and let the battle play out as it was going to. But, if we can salvage some sort of, I don't know, some sort of peace out of this, save some people's lives, maybe this is for the best. I don't think we're going to get anywhere going up against the military force, because they're outnumbered as is. They've been hearing a fear bell for however long now, and they still ain't run. They were going to stand and fight regardless. I think there may have been a point to the nobles, maybe not necessarily taking them hostage, but if they do have any sort of sway, at least over the people in the city, that might be the way to go. But also, speaking from a personal point, you are going to get nowhere with that general with me standing next to you. Flat out. He might not even listen to you, Harris.
Possibly not, but if he doesn't want to listen, then the options are very limited, and I'm more apt to make them listen. Whether they're listening with legs or not is their choice.
I wonder if we should pitchfork this. Maybe
Explain.
have Evron, and I think Evron's a good front person to talk to the general. And maybe me, at least, not be there. Go to the city and see if we can track down these nobles and see if we can talk to them.
Here's where you can go with Ivron.
Charismatic folk.
I'll go with Griaz.
I think that might be best, because also, as far as presentation of peace, Garrus, absolutely nothing against you, but you are a tiefling dressed as a Death Knight. you'd have to be waving a pretty big white flag for them not to just go full aggro, even with that bell ringing its horny noise and everything, you know?
Well, I am a Hell Knight.
Yep.
Which are the allies of the Emelian Empire.
Also a good point. Oh, just thought.
What are you all gonna go looking for?
If we went with my idea, we would go and see about talking to them nobles, or at least just talking to the people in the city. You know, if stuff comes down to it and they do have to evacuate or whatever else, I think at least having the people in the city understand what's going on would be helpful.
You want me to start looking for the cultists?
That would also be helpful.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Yvonne and I go to speak with the general, attempt to negotiate him down off of whatever ledge he's on. You two will go to the nobles, and if not them, the people. And Utaka will look for our cultists.
Do you think this is a trap?
Yeah.
Probably.
If I
What
was
isn't
the
these
cult
days?
of Red Sight and I knew that there was a group of meddling agents who had a knack for interrupting big events, I'd say
Heading
having
here,
us
because
in
they
the
know we're
city-
heading here.
and they know that we like to meddle. If they have a follower on that boat, what do you think the chances are they will try to eradicate the city with us in it?
Hi.
Oh, that boat. I'm gonna nod back.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. They would have to be someone with a very particular kind of talent to convince that particular boat.
On the boat, how did the halflings outnumber the orcs and the goblins?
Significantly, yes.
They don't have to have a special set of skills. All they have to do is decide to mutiny. They already know what Plan B is. All they have to do is enact it. And if they have been promised something more, or something better, which the Cult of Red Sight seems to offer fairly religiously, it's not unreasonable to suspect that in the midst of this conflict, they will turn on us and turn on the Bluefield Alliance.
Maybe I should mention something. They ain't, well, most of them ain't. Most of them ain't following Ninkalim.
Oh, well.
I don't know why y'all thought that, just because, like, they're halflings and, like, there's bugs, but that's kind of, like, racist. But, they're actually following... Any of y'all heard of the Plague Doctor?
Is there like a religious
Israel
symbol
makes
for,
like a sort of
yeah,
cult
like,
sign that's like a ward against the thing. It's like, don't talk about it.
It's an ancient paladin warding spell. It's called Sickness Be Gone!
Yes, for those of you who are aware of him in character, I will say as a fun little side note, the reason he's simply called the Plague Doctor is because the worship and following of him is so sacrilege and unallowed that their true name as a deity has been erased from religion.
Do other gods know it?
Supposedly.
They probably do.
Supposedly, it was actually the gods who took his name away, basically as punishment for being such a malicious, spiteful bastard.
How dare you, sir? How dare you make that
How dare
comment?
you? You don't get a name.
because if you don't have a name,
Have this
it's harder
back
for
when you
people.
start behaving.
Exactly. You can have that back when you start behaving, young man.
Yeah.
Think about what you've done.
Oh yeah, I'll get a bunch of underground rats to worship me. That's fine. I don't need no humans.
I'm gonna have my own pantheon with blackjack and hookers.
Better not. You go to your divine plane of existence right now, mister.
You're not the boss of me.
You're not my real pantheon.
Yeah, you're not.
You're not my real all-father.
But yes, yes, I will say, for just a little bit of fun, Griaz, if you want to see if Griaz knows about the Plague Doctor, you can roll a religion check or a history check, your call. But yes, I will say, Gaharis and Ivron, both of you are familiar with this figure as, yeah, a very evil deity to be avoided. You've heard quite a few stories and yourselves have had to root out quite a few oath breakers, as his worshippers tend to infiltrate legitimate medical areas and cause issues. And Israel, you in particular have quite intimate experience with them, as you actually recall that supposedly the Plague Doctor has quite a presence, so to speak, in the area where you live, and your hometown has had to chase oath breakers out of their hospital more than once.
Spoiler alert. Her mom died of a sickness that was released probably on the town by plague doctors.
Yeah.
I only rolled 10, so he might just have.
You've
You
heard
might
the
know
name.
it's like a
You're not.
verboten sort of thing.
Yeah, like you know that they're definitely a supposedly very evil deity, but you don't know the details.
So what you're saying is you and your god would not be particularly upset if their boats were somehow spontaneously set ablaze, minus the Bluefield Alliance on them.
Some of them probably worship well, some of them do worship Ninkum, but I don't think that would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of it all, ain't it?
True enough. Well, we have a time
But
limit.
I can also, if we deal with that warlock, a lot of them were wearing shit. Some of them probably more zealous than others. But that don't mean they can't be convinced. Isn't that hard.
That's
Not
right.
that far of a jump.
Alright, so
Just have to make the better deal, don't you?
I suppose so. So it seems we have a general plan then. So we'll
As
be
good as one's
separating
gonna
for a
get.
time.
I'll see what I can do. I'll be in touch.
Brother, stay safe. Don't get killed.
You don't have to worry about me, Harris. And Ivron would reach his hand out to give him that brotherly forearm clasp.
Oh yeah. Grr.
Oh yeah, bros for life. And I think this would be a point where Ivron would give a 10-minute speech as they're going to shore on how inspirational and awesome we are. And I don't have anything. I don't have anything prepared other than like, man, we are just so amazing. We came in here thinking we were going to have to kill some people, but we didn't. We walked away with all of our limbs, and so did the other people. And this is a good workout. We're going to do good, guys.
Is
I'm
this
proud
the
of you.
first time Ivron has been genuinely proud of our game in a while?
I would say so. Actually, I think he is genuinely like strengthened by the fact that we did not kill anybody.
And that our instinct was all to negotiate first and to figure out what was going on before we just.
Yeah, we're gonna negotiate the shit out of this piece, y'all.
Look at us grow. Look at us. Look at this. Like we're doing.
We're gonna be diplomatic as fuck.
Yeah, boy.
This is growth. This is character development. I love to see for you all.
Matt, what did the sunflowers do? The magic sunflowers. They were the healing ones, right?
Yes, they heal all allies within a certain range of them.
Okay. In the grasp, the brotherly grasp, I'm going to slip a few seeds of a sunflower into Ivron's palm.
Okay. All right. With that, a plan has been established. From the sounds of it, Ivron and Geharis, it seems, will negotiate.
Ivron and Israel will go with the general.
Double eyes.
Yeah, the perspective was a little odd, so I was just
double eyes and then double G's.
Yeah.
All right. So a plan has been established.
Team I and Team G.
Yeah. Ig.
Which literally is the abbreviation for Goldshine Investigation.
Hey!
Oh man! Imagine if we'd gone into this campaign with that in mind.
Like, imagine if we did that on purpose.
I know.
Just for a second.
Yeah, pretend it was deliberate. All right. Ivron and Israel will be negotiating with the General of Jor to negotiate a ceasefire with the underling Bell helping and charming the enemy soldiers to make them a little more pliable. Griaz and Geharis will be heading towards the mountains to seek out the noble family and potentially get their help in negotiating this ceasefire and trying to convince the people of Jor to stand down and allow the last coastal power of the Emilian Empire to fall. And Utaka will be heading into town directly to be scouting out for the Children of Redsight that the Bluefield Alliance leadership seems convinced are here and potentially may be able to be cornered and interrogated for useful information on their activities and what exactly it is that the organization is up to. And I think that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
All right. Well, since I'm not DMing, I guess I'll start the call outs. So, this is the worst. Hi everybody, my name is Graham, or Graham Crackers. This is my channel, and these are my friends. And also, all of you are now my friends, so you're stuck with me for life. Not sorry. Tonight, I had the pleasure of playing Geharis Nervos, Blackmont, your Tiefling Paladin, Oath of Conquest. If you'd like to see more of what we do both on this channel or about me, you can find me on Twitter at GrahamCrackers1 at Twitter, where I will tweet about D&D, funny memes, and occasionally ask for cat pictures, because I love cats. And there's no shame in that. But outside of that, you can find me DMing every Tuesday. Just go for 4 more hours. I cannot. I would be asleep. I cannot do it, sir. I cannot do it. But next week, maybe we will. So, just have to tune in next week. But every Tuesday, I DM 2 campaigns on this channel. One at 7:30, one at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. Shards of Anarian, featuring the lovely, fantastic Derek and Pharaoh. And Anarian's Rest, featuring Kari, and a wide array of fantastic people and role players. If you like to see me cry, it happens almost every Tuesday. So, we just out here feeling feelings. But outside of that, you can find me every Monday, or most Mondays, playing games with the community. Usually, it is a MMO of some sort, whether it is a 4-player co-op game, or, New Worlds, Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy 14. Nothing's off the table. It's just on the monitor. But outside of that, you can find me on every other Saturday on Paul Scripper's channel, where I play Mavrin Minados, a tiefling sorcerer warlock who may be cursed by 3 different deities. mistakes happen when you're a pirate, okay? But that's all for me. I'd love to hear about my fantastic cast.
He's got to catch them all. Hey, everybody, it's me, Kari. You can find me here every Friday playing Israel, the Feypact Warlock, the best Feypact Warlock. And you can find me, as Graham said, every other Tuesday at Anarian's Rest playing Karis, the Tiefling Wizard. I don't know about Terraria. Gotta ask people. But you can find me, well, nowhere except one place, and that place is Guild Wars, where you will find me at the tag Kari.1492. If you ever want to play, hit me up. Got questions, hit me up, whatever. But that's where I am when I'm not here. Otherwise, I just sort of slip into a state of like maybe existing and maybe not. So that's it for me.
Schrodinger's Kari. Hey guys, I'm Pharaoh. I played Utaka, the Water Genasi Cleric Rogue of a couple gods. One of them seems to like him more, but it's okay. We can have mom issues. That's fine. You can catch me every other Tuesday in the aforementioned Shards of Anarian, where I play Sindra Saturmain, a Leonin Paladin, Warlock, Oath of the Crown, Pact of the Undying. It's a mess. We almost cried last week. Maybe we'll cry next time. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at Ferocious, which is the same spelled as it is in the chat. And off to one of the handsome men left.
Hey, I'm one of them. Hi, everybody. I'm Derek Sword. If you want to find me in more of my projects, the best place is Twitter at dsword16. Most of my projects actually are on hiatus right now because I have an impending move and a lot of change going on right now. But hopefully in the new year, I will start up Season 2 of Horizon's Call and a couple other campaigns that I've wanted to run for a really long time. So definitely check that out. Stay tuned. Until then, I'm here every Friday. I am also here in the twice now mentioned Shards of Anarian every other Tuesday. In that game, I play Verban, who is a Knoll Ranger and new Grave Cleric, because sad shit happens and character death sucks. But nay, he's gonna make sure that never happens again, because Grave Clerics have a lot of things to keep you out of the grave. It's really nice. It makes sense. Yeah, I'm also the co-host of the podcast Monster Crush. Again, another project that's on hiatus, but has a wonderful backlog. So it's a podcast that my co-host Heavenly and I do. We talk about different cryptids and creatures and how cool they are and how sexy they are. And we talk about like their history and also like if they're good to smooch. So check out Monster Crush wherever podcasts are found. And yeah, well, that's it for me. So I will hand it off to two of the other remaining handsome gentlemen.
Hello, thank you for the compliment, Eric. Hello, everyone. I am Jeremy, and I also go by the Twitter handle Dane Darkstride. But to be honest with you, not a lot goes on in my life we're sharing on Twitter, so I apologize for that. This is the only place you can find me, and I have nothing new going on, and it's probably going to stay that way for a while. But I do hope that you enjoyed the episode, and I hope that I did not disappoint with my role as Ivron Blackmont. And I would like to just thank you all for watching. I will now pass it off to the one, the only, the phenomenal Anonymous, Matt.
Thank you very much. I was Matt, your DM. I played everyone who wasn't the party. I was rats, I was orcs, I was bugbears, I was all sorts of things. If you liked my DMing here and want to see more of it, check out Odd Tornado Productions on Twitch and YouTube for my Monday and Tuesday streamed games, Under Locks and Keys and Of Black Ink and Blue Blood, respectively. Under Locks and Keys is a party of globe-trotting treasure hunters gathering the artifacts of the gods in hopes of combining them to unlock a valuable treasure that lies beyond their grasp. They're competing with a cult themselves, funny enough. This one, a cult cult obsessed with the progression of technology. So even though it's a typical fantasy setting, they've just gotten wind that they're going to be dealing with dynamite and revolvers the next time they encounter them. So that's going to be fun. And Black Ink and Blue Blood is a political themed campaign of the party trying to unravel political conspiracy if they can stop stabbing each other in the back long enough to get that done. All this takes place in the same campaign setting, so if you like this lore, you'll get a whole lot more of it there. Other than that, if you want to see what I can do behind the writing desk without party shenanigans to disrupt my plans, then check out my webcomic on Webtoon and Tapas, Undercommon, also taking place in the same setting, featuring one of the first goblins to ever become an adventurer. They're currently going to actually become an official licensed one, and who knows what shenanigans will ensue. Other than that, if there's anything I forgot to mention, check out Alternator Productions Official on Tumblr, where we regularly post links and ads for all the different stuff we're doing, including this very stream. So I think that's about it from me. Again, thanks everyone at the table so much for playing, and everyone at home so much for watching.
Oh, goodness. Well, we're going to do a raid. A raid, you say? That thing Graham often forgets to do? Yes, indeed. We are going to raid our good friends, Josh Simons, a wonderful, fantastic human being who is just a bright ray of sunshine in the TTRPG community. Also, he has good taste in coffee. So, we're going to go over there, and I want everyone to just spam that Graham love and tell Josh that he is great. You can phrase it in however or how many words you want, but we're just going to let him know that there are people out there that value him. So we will see you again, either Monday or Tuesday or, maybe next Friday. You never know, and, maybe we'll do something on a Wednesday one day. Maybe. Who knows? The D&D sphere works in mysterious ways. So we will see you until next time. Take care, stay healthy, stay happy, and bye for now. So we are rating in a whole whopping 5 seconds.